Hello, everyone. Welcome to Confidence Through Cabaret. My name is Heather.
And my name's Ryan.
And we are so excited that you're here, especially today, because we have a very special podcast going up today. So before we go into that, what you drinking, Ryan?
I am drinking my Jaguar honey coffee. I am very much enjoying it.
You always have good coffee.
Yeah, I don't have bad coffee. I'm sorry. I can't do it. Can't do it. What are you drinking?
My coffee's gone.
Oh.
And so that's it now. So
You got water?
I have to. Yeah.
Same. I have my fancy bottle.
Well, this is measurable, so I'm trying to count the number of these that I drink.
Right.
If I try and count the number of big ones, and I only
Yeah.
need like 3 of those instead of 6 of these, it seems insurmountable. So I'm playing little head games to try and trick myself into drinking.
I see.
It's not going well, but I try every day.
Yeah.
Just keep trying.
Exactly. Just keep trying.
Just keep swimming. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Bonus points if you know where that was from. I don't know. What name that movie? Let's play a whole new
Hocus Pocus.
Oh my goodness. You just need to think Nemo. Okay.
Name any movie.
So very special podcast today. Yeah. I mean, so we're very organic in how we do our podcast, right? We just normally kind of go with the flow. We know a little bit about our guest and we get to know each other for a few minutes and then we start recording. And this was the first time that we've ever really kind of planned out questions.
Yes.
But we got so involved. I don't at any point remember referring to questions. It just was such an organic conversation.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, very much so.
So would you like to introduce our podcast and what we are proud to be promoting this week?
Yes, so we were very excited to be working and collaborating with this next person. We've been a fan of their work for quite some time now. They're based out in Australia, and their name is Richelle Menzies, and they are an incredible sex activist and sexologist, and the founder of sensualpotential.com.au. Really phenomenal sex activist and sexual therapist. And this was just this is something we've wanted to do since we launched the podcast, is to talk about sex positivity and to talk about sexuality and human sexuality in a really open way. So it was a real treat to get to bring Richelle on this week. It was really fun. So I'm really excited for people to listen to this one.
Yeah, and we talk about all things sex life. We talk about boundaries. We talk about consent and permission. We talk about sex education for young people and for older people. We talk about, pornography and how that fits in. We talk about all different forms of pleasure in this in this podcast. And there's nothing in there that's really graphic. So if you're not somebody who's kind of open to that, that discussion, we're not kind of going into the nitty gritty of how to do things.
Exactly.
We're just talking about the healthiness of feeling good in our body, which, as you probably know by now with Confidence Through Cabaret, that's what we're about, because we start from where we are and then we can enjoy. I mean, because this is all about the journey, right? And this is about enjoying the journey.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's horrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Yeah. But we have a wonderful little clip. Should we play the clip? Should we take it away?
Yes.
Okay, let's do this.
You have permission to find pleasure in your own body, whether that's sexual pleasure through masturbation or whether that's pleasure of putting lotion on your skin, touching your skin in a soft, caressing way. Because if you don't know what you like, you're not going to be able to tell anybody else. And I know for me, many, many years ago, I decided to do belly dancing. I had a lot of body image issues. And I went along to that first class and I saw these women of all various shapes, sizes and ages bearing these great, big, beautiful bellies. And I must say, I was extremely underweight and I thought I was huge. And I went, you know what, if they can do it, so can I.
Nice.
And just the confidence these women had was amazing. And it was all about them and them learning how their body moved and what their body could do.
So that was Richelle talking about how incredibly important it is to retrieve that sense of pleasure for yourself and for your own sort of well-being and for your own enjoyment, most importantly. Now, this is something we've talked about a few times within Confidence Through Cabaret. In fact, it was one of the first things we kind of brought up within the community, was talking about an exercise that has been quite revolutionary for both ourselves. You know, the idea of, you know, the self-touch, you know, body tracing and things like that. And I think Richelle's comments about how revolutionary that can be, because of how much it brings you into the idea of your own choice when it comes to your body, and your choice of options of pleasure and touch and what that means to you is really quite eye-opening.
Yeah, and she makes it very clear. You know, we asked her about, you know, telling your partner. I mean, you know, and we've talked about this before in previous sessions, and also in our amazing masterclass on confidencethroughcabaret.com, which you should check out with River Starlight. You know, but that whole kind of like, when was the last time you were asked or told somebody how you like to be touched?
Yeah.
And what I like about this conversation is it follows that vein, but it's very much about, you have to know how you like touch to be, or how you like, you know, all of the senses, because you know, when she's talking about being in that bath and really enjoying it rather than just jumping in, getting clean and getting out, you know, or even eating, like, you know, I know, see, we can flippantly talk about mindfulness, and I it's not a flippant subject, but I think it can become it because it's fashionable now. You know, but actually eating something, when I eat something I know I shouldn't be eating, I will very often eat it quickly and slightly secretly.
Right.
I don't even taste it. And I think, well, I'm wearing the calories now. I'm wearing all the sugar damage or whatever it is, all the salt, all the sugar, fat. But so what Richelle is talking about is that, you know, really tasting it and hearing the chewing and the breathing that goes on. And if you're eating something and going, do you know, that's like, oh, that's just feeling so good in your body. That's the treat you should be having, not the crusty biscuits that are just adding calories. I mean, because then you're like, well, nah, that was to an end. Oh, well. So I think, you know, that whole kind of deriving pleasure from things, and it helps us understand how our body enjoys, you know, and things like touch and things like, you know, because I put moisture. If any of my aerial people are listening, you'll attest to this, that I put moisturizer on regularly, which doesn't go well when you're on a chrome pole.
Sure.
But so I very, you know, very liberally slap moisturizer on, but how often do we do that in a way that's just, you know, really sensual and really rubbing it in? I just slap it on and then let it soak in. Do you know, but how often do you kind of, you know, let it soak in? And this is really different to cabaret being on a stage where you're, you know, kind of trying to show your audience what you're doing, just like, but just feeling the pleasure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's about languishing in that moment, in that sensation. And I think that's one of the things we're trained out of, especially now, without sounding, you know, like one of those people who's like, in my day. But at the same time, I think that, I think there's a thing of, because so much of our attention now is based very heavily on immediate gratification and the quickness and the swiftness of which we can access things. There's often a lack of attention and reverence given to the slow processing of things, and to taking things at pace, and to understanding that there are different ways in which we can approach these things. And I think, you know, it's very easy to get caught up into what essentially becomes a hustle, rather than, you know, you're actually paying attention to that needed time and pleasure.
Yeah, you can go through the motions, right? You can wake up and go, right, I've set my intention. My intention is to get this to-do list done, all the things ticked off, and then I have a shower and I slap on some moisturizer, or it doesn't even have to be like full body. Just even like, you know, if you wear moisturizer on your face, or any kind of foundation or powder or anything, if you put that on your face, just putting it on with some purpose and some tenderness, as opposed to what I did this morning. very early because we were up very early to film this. It was like slap, 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 done.
Yeah.
You know, but actually just, you know, kind of playing with the brush, you know,
Yeah.
that's a very different thing to just, you know,
Yeah.
the same with the eating. And I think, you know, if we did things with purpose rather than, okay, so I've done my moisturizer, or I've done my shower, I've done my
Yeah.
bath, or, you know, tick, 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 I've done my meditation. Okay, you know, but
Yeah.
I'm doing it kind of flippantly, but actually a lot of times that's what we do,
Yeah.
right? Is what
Absolutely.
we're supposed to, and it's doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we're talking sexuality, it's just such a great reminder, and Richelle takes us through some amazing points, you know, of what boundaries are about. And I mean, boundaries we tend to think are like our kind of rules,
Mm.
right? How we want to be treated, and where our limits are and so on. But actually, even there can be pleasure in boundaries. I'm talking to you now, Ryan, because we talk about boundaries a lot. But there can be pleasure in those boundaries, right? Of
Mm.
like, where are those boundaries, and where do I find pleasure within that space?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think there's a lot of negotiation there between what we feel like we're supposed to have to do
Mhm,
and what we actually want to do.
mhm,
And that can be a very difficult thing for, especially if you're struggling with boundaries and if you're struggling with the pushback to you asserting that, it can be really difficult to navigate the reactions that other people have to that reinstatement of a boundary. And it can be really difficult as well, further to that, of you testing your idea of that person with, or the person that pushed against you and how their reaction has affected you. Because it's one thing to understand that there is a reaction, it's another thing to know how strong that reaction is and how it affects you further and what that means for you going forward.
mhm.
So there's a lot of stuff that comes into play. So it's understandable, I think, that people get nervous, and certainly I get very concerned about the way in which I put up my boundaries and the way in which I enforce them and what that means for me afterwards. And it can be a long road, and I think that's something that's really important to remember again with this, is that this is a process of taking things slowly, and you can apply that to every aspect of this, and it's no less important when it comes to pleasure in whatever form you want to derive that, whether or not it's sexual or not. Sexuality and sensuality don't also have to be linked. There's an idea that one means and begets the other, but that's just as damaging in its own way. You can explore your sensuality without having to feel sexually obliged to yourself or anybody else.
Yeah.
You don't need me to tell you that, but you know what I mean? Like, for anybody who's listening, but that sometimes can be a revelation in and of itself, especially when it comes to the idea of permission to enjoy your own thoughts and feelings,
And even to enjoy our own vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, within relationships that are not sexual, just even like, let's say, friendships,
Mm.
we should be deriving pleasure from it.
Yeah.
So when we talk about pleasure, we're not just talking about like how do you enjoy your sex? We're also talking about
Mm-hmm.
what kind of pleasure do you want to experience?
Yeah.
And how do you want that to be? And so our relationships should absolutely bring us pleasure.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
where the boundaries piece comes in, which we do talk about with Richelle. Go
Yeah.
check out our podcast. It's on Podbean, but it's anywhere where you get your podcasts. Confidence Through Cabaret podcast.
Yes.
Obviously, you can also find it on confidencethroughcabaret.com on our landing page. We have
Mm-hmm.
all of our podcasts there with some amazing guests. And you'll start to see by now some themes coming out where different people talk about it with different applications or from a different angle or different experience. But there are some definite themes coming out. So are you honoring yourself? Are you experiencing pleasure? Do you know what that is? Do you know what you want? You should start to sort of see those questions coming up again and again. They're not going away because they're all things we have to answer
Mm-hmm.
and we have to check in with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So anywhere where you get your social media, we are Confidence Through Cabaret, obviously confidencethroughcabaret.com. There is one exception. Actually, there's two.
Two.
Two. We have all the letters on Twitter, which is at YBYW. I love the lip syncing. YS.
Every time.
So Yankee Bravo, Yankee Whiskey, Yankee Sierra.
There we go.
There you go. Or also, I'm on Clubhouse as at Heather YB YW YS. And Ryan, do you want to tell us what that stands for? You are lucky we're in different rooms, because I would be punching you under the table right now, and you know it because I've done it before.
We would never have known.
Okay, so what do those letters stand for? What is our mantra? Our tagline?
I don't know, I've never heard this before in my life.
I know. I know.
It is your body, your world, your stage. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you. Goodbye.